think it's important to understand that procrastination is typically just fear. Most people don't change really until the pain of holding on to what they were attached to is greater than the fear of the unknown and what could happen. You do know what you want. You're just scared. Oftentimes this comes up when we're afraid to actually claim what it is that we want because we're either afraid we won't get it, or we'll fail, we'll embarrass ourselves, or we're too much for wanting it. The only way that you can absolutely guarantee that you stay in the exact same place that you are in right now is to do nothing. Let that empower you. That's actually incredible because you can decide to make a change like literally right now. That's how exhilarating is that. Hello, my dears, and welcome back to another episode of the Nutrient Dense podcast. I am so excited to dive into today's episode. This episode is for you if you're feeling off right now, if your health isn't where you want it to be, if your energy isn't where you want it to be, if your digestion isn't where you want it to be, even if your relationships aren't where you want them to be, if your finances aren't where you want them to be. This episode is going to break down a simple 4-step formula for creating the health and the life that you want. So, a couple weeks ago, I was feeling, just a little off. I go through these periods where I feel a little stuck, a little stagnant. I notice that my energy's a little lower, my excitement's a little lower, my passion for my work is a little lower. Tends to happen after I run a little too hard. But this process that I'm going to walk you through today is basically what I take myself through when I hit this point, when I have that aha moment where I'm like, oh, I have a choice here. I can do something about this. And I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want to feel more on path. I want to feel more excited. I want to feel happier. I want to feel more lit up and aligned and actively moving towards the life that I dream of and desire myself. So I implemented this just a few weeks ago, and it's been pretty astounding to see what happens after I do little things like this. We will have tons of clients roll through. I'll get emails about being featured on other big podcasts. I literally just got a call from my apartment offering to lower my rent. I mean, when does that ever happen? I don't know in the history of ever if that has ever happened before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that does not happen to me very often. And little things like that just start to fall through, right? I'll start to meet people who I really needed to meet. Like there's a lesson there from them that I learned that I'm like, ooh, that really hits different. This is landing different for me. This feels super aligned. What else has kind of transpired? I feel more energized. You can probably see it in me, right? I'm happy to be here. I feel more on path, things like that. And it kind of gets me just like into that momentum and moving in the right direction. Because I think it's so easy for us to go about our lives and get caught up in the day-to-day and kind of the quote unquote rat race or just the monotony of the day-to-day. Even if we are so lucky and privileged to be living the lives that we are today, we can still get caught in these little, cycles of not really making changes, staying on path working towards a goal that maybe we don't even want anymore. And if we're not careful, we'll wake up in 20 years and go, ooh, I'm not happy. How did I get here? And what the heck am I doing? And along the way, we'll probably feel not so great getting there either. So this exercise that I'm going to walk you through today is going to be really helpful to make sure that you are on path and really help to actively create the life and the health that you desire. So obviously on this podcast, we talk a lot about health. We talk a lot about gut health, digestive health, histamine overload, SIBO, leaky gut, food sensitivities, all of that kind of stuff. And that's here to stay. Don't you worry. We have lots more gut-focused content coming soon. But I find that looking at our habits and looking at our actions and using our mindset and our beliefs to support the creation of our health and support the creation of our lives is almost just as important as like taking the supplements or eating the healthy foods, right? Because a lot of the times we kind of know we need to make some changes. We know we need to do some things like, oh, I should work out more. How groundbreaking is that? We kind of know we should do that. But a lot of us struggle to do it. And then we struggle to stay consistent with doing it as well. So when we're kind of dissecting that and we're aiming for more consistency, we're aiming for more action, we're aiming to actually get results, not just conceptualize doing something, but actually get results. This process is helpful for that, right? We need to take action towards that in order to get the result. So let's just go ahead and kind of dive on in. So once again, if you're feeling off kind of in any area of your life, but also your health, we can bring in some energetics, we can bring in some belief system, nervous system support, mindset work to support your health goals. That's what we're going to do today. So once again, like, you can kind of know that meditation is good for you. The question is, are you actually doing it? There is a big difference between understanding something conceptually and actually embodying something. And one creates change and one doesn't, right? So we often go towards just seeking more and more education. Well, can I learn more about my gut? Can I learn more about the nervous system? Can I learn more about this? Which I am like massive fan of education. That's why I have this podcast. I love it, love it, love it. I love teaching. I love learning. I'll be learning forever and hopefully teaching forever. And it's massively valuable. And I think it is massively valuable to continue to educate yourself, because I find when we do educate clients on what's going on and why, they're actually more likely to do the things that we recommend them doing, right? So that's where the education piece can be absolutely game changing. You can also learn things that you did not know before that change your life. They change your health, they change your career, they change everything for you. That's very real. But oftentimes we kind of know some of these things already and we're not doing them, right? So there's a really big difference between understanding something in the brain, understanding something conceptually, right? And then actually embodying that thing and living in alignment with that thing, right? Doing that thing. You can know that you should be eating 30 grams of protein in the morning for breakfast, but are you actually doing it? You can read all of the Instagram posts. I mean, we're in this time right now where there's education and information everywhere, right? You can read all of the posts. You can save all of my posts. You can listen to every single podcast episode. And I hope that you do. And I hope that you learn a ton. And you can do all of that, right? But are you actively making changes in your life with this new education that you have? Because you don't actually get a new result by learning something. You get a new result by actually starting to change your life when you take an action informed by this new knowledge. So hopefully that makes sense for you. I'm big on action. I'm a Capricorn, if any of you guys know what that is. So I'm like one action after the next, slow and steady, wins the race, keep going forward. I love to take action, but I also really believe that, you know, we're not going to get the results that we want unless we take the aligned action towards those results. So I find whenever I am feeling a little sluggish or stuck or kind of like things aren't feeling like a little clunky. I was explaining to my friends last week, I was like, I don't know, things are just feeling a little clunky. Like it's not really going smoothly, you know, things aren't really flowing well. They're not really going very smoothly. It's feeling like I'm hitting some resistance and friction with every little piece and every little step. And that starts to kind of wear you down, right? And of course, we can't control everything that's happening in the world and in life. But I was just kind of feeling like, I don't know, I'm just feeling a little like resistance, a little bit of that feeling of like pushing a boulder up a mountain, right? Where you're struggling a bit more than you should be or need to be, that kind of energy. I hate that energy. And all of us find ourselves stuck in that energy sometimes. And oftentimes when I find myself there and when I actually create the space to get quiet and understand what it is I'm even feeling and what is going on, it's usually that I have to just kind of like get out of my own way a little bit, right? I'm not doing things I know I should be doing. I'm avoiding certain things. I'm procrastinating on certain things. And this can run the gamut, right? It can be in work. It can be in my relationship. It can be in my personal life with my own health practices. But usually I'm kind of like bottlenecking things. Like I know I should be doing this, but I'm not doing this. I need to make this change here, but I'm not doing it. And I think it's important to understand that procrastination is typically just fear. So it's funny, you know, actually thinking through this right now while I'm recording this, because at the end of last year, I was planning on launching this podcast. And it's something that I had kind of brought up for a little while, you know, when looking back on it. And this is a perfect example. Looking back, and I've said this over and over again, I'm like, I should have launched this podcast 2 years ago. We've gotten so much positive feedback from this podcast. You guys are loving it, which brings me truly so much joy. Like, it warms my heart. It feels very much in alignment with what I should be doing. So I'm so like truly jazzed that you guys are enjoying it and learning so much from it and feeling seen and understood and heard in it and expanding your horizons of what you believe to be possible and true with this podcast. I cannot thank you guys enough for listening and rating and reviewing and all of that good stuff. But it's funny because when I think back to launching this podcast, it was like end of last year. And I was like, okay, so we've got to plan it out. We've got to plan the launch and getting it all ready. And I've got to record episodes and I've got to, what's the name of the podcast? I mean, it's a whole new project and we're busy. We have got a lot of clients and the business has been rolling for a while now. We support a lot of women every single year. And so I have to upkeep all that. And then I have to kind of like add on an additional project, right? So I can very easily make excuses. I can very easily go, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the capacity for this. What am I even going to talk about? That's what I kept saying to my sister. What am I even going to talk about? And she's like, are you kidding? The women ask you questions on Instagram every single week. What do you mean? What are you going to talk about? And I'm like, okay. So I started procrastinating a lot. I was really dragging my feet to start this thing. And when I finally got quiet and I helped my body and my nervous system feel safe again, I realized I'm procrastinating because I'm scared. I'm afraid it's going to fail. I'm afraid no one's going to listen to it. I'm afraid people are going to get to know me more and listen to this podcast and be like, this chick is just weird, or we've heard it all before, or I don't care. I don't want to listen to it. And I was also a little worried that I'd just be another girl with a podcast. You know, it seems like everyone and their mom has a podcast now. So all of these limiting beliefs started popping up for me, which was causing the procrastination. The biggest thing that was coming up was just failure, right? I was procrastinating because I was trying to hide, even though it was something I deep down wanted to do, pretty much like knew it would be a good idea for the community, for my business, for educating all of you guys, but I was still really like dragging my feet on it. This procrastination is typically just fear of being seen, fear of failing, fear of being embarrassed, fear of people seeing you do something and then you're embarrassed. They think you're silly. They think you're dumb, whatever it might be. Also, like, it's their own projection. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Some people will love it and some people will hate it. And if you build a business online, you learn that pretty quickly. So it's really just fear. And when you can access that, I think it can be very helpful because you can go, oh, like instead of pushing that boulder up the hill, you can go, I'm just scared here. I'm just scared. Okay. So how can I work through that fear? How can I help myself feel safe? How can I resource myself? How can I support my nervous system? And how can I also shift my beliefs around this? So what if I launch this podcast and no one cares and no one listens? So what? I do it for 3 months and then I stop. Is the world going to end? No. And what's the upside to that? I could launch it and a lot of people could listen. They could love it. Okay. That seems worth it, right? Like, what's the downside? What's the worst case that could happen? I spend some money on it. I spend some time on it. I spend some energy on it. It fails. I survive. I can keep going from that. I mean, I've been through harder things than that, right? So it's helpful to kind of put these things into perspective and sometimes take it worst case scenario. And this can apply to anything in your life, whether you go on that first date, what's it worth, right? What if I feel uncomfortable? What if I feel uncomfortable in my body? Whatever that might be. Or going on that job interview. What if I bomb it? What if I fail? What if they think I'm stupid? Okay, well, so what? Right? So what? So it's helpful to kind of put these things into perspective. And most people don't change really until the pain of holding on to what they were attached to is greater than the fear of the unknown and what could happen, right? Our nervous system and our brain hates the unknown. It hates not knowing what's going to happen. It's actually easier for us to deal with a negative outcome than it is to hold an unknown or uncertainty. And I feel that pretty deeply in my body, right? Because we've all gotten bad news and we've all had a negative outcome before in our lives. And you get that, and then you're like, okay, well, that sucks. That's not what I wanted. This is painful. This is hard. This breakup is hard, whatever it is. But that is easier for us because we can kind of like go, okay, we have this bad outcome. What are we going to do with it? And how are we going to move forward? Versus, is this going to happen? Are we going to break up? Is this happening? Or is this podcast going to do well? Right? It's easier to hold, oops, I launched it, didn't do well, than it is, what could happen if I launch it? And that applies to everything, right? It applies to signing up to work with us. It applies to working with a practitioner. Is it going to go well? I'm not sure. What if, is it the right support for me? All the questions that come up versus, oh, that went well or it didn't go well. We can kind of like compartmentalize and deal with that, right? So the fear of uncertainty and the fear of the unknown is harder for our bodies and our nervous systems to really deal with. And this is super present when it comes to people's health journeys, right? So most people will hold on to the past. They'll hold on and they won't change until the pain of holding on to what they're attached to is greater than the fear of the unknown. An example of this would be like a smoker that finally quits when they get a bad diagnosis. We all know smoking is bad for us. It's linked to cancer. I mean, it's like one of the worst things you could do for your health, truly. And there's so much research to back that. Most of us don't need convincing of that anymore. And we can't really debunk it. It's right there in front of our faces. But a lot of people choose to smoke anyway. And sometimes they may not change that or drop that habit until they get a bad diagnosis. They're almost like forced out of it. And this is very much human nature. We don't make change until the pain of staying where we are is more intense and harder than it is to leave. And this happens in relationships, right? You stay and stay and stay and stay until you're like, oh, he cheated. I literally cannot stay anymore. It's just an example. You can stay, you cannot stay. Everyone's different. You're you do you. But that's just another example, right? Or he did this one thing or she did this one thing, and that's where I draw the line. And maybe that's really painful. Versus this hasn't really been, or even if, but rather it hasn't really been working for a little while and you've known that, but it's too painful to end it. It's too painful to take that leap or take that jump. It happens with health. Like I said, with smoking, it happens with women who sign up to work with us, so I always say, I wish I could find people sooner, but a lot of the time, sometimes clients will come to 5 of my free classes before they sign up to work with us. And it's usually because they're scared or they're procrastinating or they're, we start to make excuses. Well, now it's not a good time, or I don't know, it's a little bit out of my price range, even if, you could afford it. Of course, you really can't afford it. That's a different conversation. Or it's not the good time. The kids are busy. The schedules are busy, or this is happening, or what if it doesn't work? Or right, the limiting beliefs in the story start to pop up. And oftentimes they won't take the leap until it's literally gotten too bad. Like the pain of staying where they are with chronic digestive issues and gut issues and food sensitivities and food reactions and canceling vacations and hospital visits even is literally too much for them to hold. So they finally take the leap because the fear of jumping in and just trying something is now less than the pain that they're feeling. And this is just like the human psyche. So it's sometimes, I think, helpful to understand this when we go to make big decisions or when we find ourselves stuck in just like unsupportive patterns, because we all get there sometimes, where we're hesitating on making a change. Sometimes I like to ask myself, what's going on here, Hannah? What's going on? And why did we have to let it get to this point where it's truly so bad to the point where now I don't even have a choice? And I can kind of relate this to my own health journey when I was dealing with low cortisol. So I could feel my body for months and months. I knew I was burning the candle at both ends. I knew I wasn't eating enough because I was like moving all over the place. I moved like 5 times in 1 year. I knew that I was overworking. I knew that I was putting too much on my plate. I knew I wasn't sleeping enough. I knew I was drinking too much coffee. All of those things, I kind of already knew. Hello, I do this work. I know what it's going to do to my health. I was kind of just like denying it until I started to wake up with headaches and I started to wake up with the inability to focus. It started to then impact my work because I couldn't show up for my community and for our clients to my best ability. And that's, of course, when I drew the line. I was like, wow, my head hurts and I have no energy. And also my my lust for life was like diminishing. I didn't feel as passionately about my work. And it wasn't the work. It was my burnout. It was my energy. And that's when I started to finally make a change. So a lot of us find ourselves here. So if this is resonating with you, this only means that you're human, but it's helpful to take this into consideration when we feel like we are, when we feel like we know we're doing some things that aren't really helping us or supporting us, but we're still continuing to do them. Try to make the change before you get forced to make the change, right? Before you have no other choice. And there's a phrase, I'm going to butcher it right now because I don't have it written down my notes, but it's something like, if you don't make time for your health, then you'll be forced to make time for your illness. Right? So can we more so start to make changes from this place of like desire and excitement and alignment, as opposed to this reactionary, oh my gosh, well now I'm super sick. Oh my gosh, well now it's gotten too bad, or now I can't even button my pants anymore, or whatever that might be, or the relationship blew up in my face, or I got fired because I was still in this job that I literally hated. Can we choose to make aligned decisions out of this place of choice versus reaction? I think it can be really helpful to ask ourselves that question sometimes. So anyway, that's kind of the introduction to all of this. Okay, let's get into this 4-step process to creating the life and the health that you want. So you can listen to this while you're on your walk, or while you're driving, or while you're cooking, however you listen to my podcast. But I will say this will be exceptionally powerful when you journal through the questions I'm going to ask and the things I'm going to bring up, the different steps in this method. That's when you're going to get the most out of this. So you can either get your journal out now and go through this with me, or I would recommend listening through it once so you get all the ideas and you can walk and you can kind of process. What's great is when we walk, we're actually there's bilateral stimulation happening. So we're kind of utilizing both sides of our brain because we're walking with both feet and both sides, right? Which can kind of help us shift these neural pathways of these deeply grooved neural pathways that we have that kind of are like reflect our beliefs and where our brain goes. So we start to, when we think these thoughts over and over again, we start to kind of hardwire and deeply groove these neural pathways. So it's easier to think a thought that you've thought before because you've thought it many other times before, right? Walking is, and anytime we use bilateral stimulation, we can kind of bring the subconscious forward a little bit more, these deeply rooted beliefs, and start to rewire the brain a little easier. So walking is honestly fantastic. Listen to this while walking the first time, and then the second time through, journal through this, pause it with me, and go through this actively. And I really recommend pen to paper, not iPhone, not Android, not iPad or typing or whatever, but really like putting pen to paper, because that activates the brain in a different way. So step 1 in this, if you're feeling like you're just feeling off, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling stagnant, you're feeling like essentially the life that you're living right now is not the life that you really want. And maybe you're not super far off, but maybe you are really far off. Either way, this process works if you want to shift a lot of things in your life or just one. So first thing I want you to ask yourself is to get very clear on how you want to feel. So that could look like rested. Maybe you want to feel abundant in time and energy, in money, in creativity, in ideas, in health, in vitality, in vibrance, in whatever that is to you, right? Abundance. Sometimes when we say abundance, we think money, but when I think abundance in like nature. I think abundance in my time, because my time is so precious to me. I think abundance in my health, having the energy to do the things that I want to do, to go to take the dance class that brings me so much joy, to help my loved ones, to have deep conversations. When I think of abundance, it goes much farther than just, financial abundance. So that can be anything to you. So take where you are right now, but and sit and feel into that. But then I want you to really feel, and then journal out how you want to feel, right? So it could be grounded. It could be very well rested. It could be healthy. It could be vibrant. It could be passionate, right? Any of these things. It could be like feeling like you're not running out of time in life. It could be on purpose. Excited. It could be connected to yourself, connected to God. It could be feeling safe. I mean, any of these things. So these are just some examples. And I want you to get very clear on what it is you want. What are you trying to bring into your life? Now, sometimes, and this comes up a lot for me, actually, getting a little personal in this episode, but sometimes it feels like we don't even know what we want. This is something that once again, this comes up for me a lot. I think I'm like, I'm feeling a little like stagnant, like, I'm just here I am going through the motions, right? And then I'm like, what do I even want? I don't even know what I want. what is it that I want, right? Is it more time? Is it more freedom? Is it to grow my business more and help more people? Is it to sleep more? Who knows? Is it to start another project? Is it to have time to just like go for long walks? I mean, I don't know. So sometimes when we go to ask ourselves, what is it that we want? We feel like we don't even know. There's like a lack of clarity there. And I want to reflect to you that if that's coming up for you right now, you do know what you want. You're just scared, right? So oftentimes this comes up when we're afraid to actually claim what it is that we want, because we're either afraid we won't get it, or we'll fail, we'll embarrass ourselves, or we're too much for wanting it. This is very prevalent for women. Who are we to ask for that, right? We're going to embarrass ourselves in front of everyone, or, we're afraid we're going to set a goal and we won't hit it. That comes up for me a lot, even though it's literally me setting my own goals that no one else even sees. What does it matter? It literally doesn't matter if I hit it or not, as long as I enjoy the ride. But that one comes up for me a lot. Like if I write this thing down that I want, and what happens if I don't hit it? The irony is that when I write it down, I have a good track record of always hitting it. It's like comical, but that's just my fear brain. It's just my nervous system trying to keep me safe from not disappointing myself, or in quote unquote failing, which is tied into a much deeper story that I have based on my upbringing and some childhood stuff that is all around not being good enough, not being lovable, not being enough, having to fight and go and push to prove that I'm good enough. So it's stemming from that deeper belief. So maybe that resonates with some of you, but don't let this lack of clarity stop you, because it's just fear. You're just scared. So get very clear on what it is that you want, right? And if you're thinking, who am I to think that wanting this is okay? Or what if I don't hit this or whatever? I ask you to just drop that story, and just, if you knew that you could accomplish it and you could live the life that you want, what would that look like? If you knew that there was no chance that you'd fail, what would that look like? And get really clear with your time, with your family, with your health, with your financial situation, with where you live, the location, with how you dress. I mean, all of that. Get really clear on what it is and how you want to feel, specifically how you want it to feel. That's very important here. Now, the second step in this process is going to be to connect to your deeper why. Why do you want these things? Why do you want to feel these things? Why is this important to you? So what's the deeper why underneath all of this? Because we can say, I want a new car or whatever. That would be so great. I hate my old car and I want a new car. Well, why? Why do you want a new car? What does that offer you? Does it offer you freedom? Does it offer you safety? Does that mean you can drive your kids around in a safe new car? Does that mean, like dig deeper? Does it mean autonomy? Does it mean you can drive yourself to work? You don't have to ride the bus anymore? Like what does that mean to you? And what is that deeper why underneath it all? When it comes to your health, connect to that deeper why, right? Because I want to be healthy it's not enough. We want to connect this to your core desire. So why do you want to get healthier? Is it for freedom? Is it for energy? Is it for your confidence? Is it to feel better on your wedding day? Is it to optimize your health before you try to conceive? We get so many women working with us because they want to feel really healthy before they try to, get pregnant, which is like such an honor. We get a lot of women that work with us too before their wedding days because they want to feel, it's an important day. They want to feel confident and they don't want to feel bloated and they don't want to be gassy and they don't want to be constipated on their wedding day. So this deeper why, take it there, right? Do you want to be healthier because you want to have more time to run around with your kids? You want to have the energy to run around with your kids. You want to be more present with your kids. I remember working with a client a couple years ago and she was just like, all I think about is my health. All I think about is what I'm going to eat. All I think about is my health, trying to get my steps in, my snacks, all of this stuff, burning calories, my digestive issues, how food's going to make me feel. She's like, I take my kids to the park and I'm not even fully there with them. I'm thinking about all of this other stuff. And that was what was really like eating away at her. So what is that deeper why underneath it all? And it needs to really connect to a very authentic desire of yours. So take a moment to really reflect on that. Then the third step in this process is going to be to embody the energy of your future self that has the result that you want. So if this someone this higher self, this future self has everything that you're wanting, right? So they have how you feel. They feel how you feel. They have the things that you want. If it's more energy, if it's no bloating, if it's the ability to go out and eat out at a restaurant without pain and fear and having to scan the menu and leaving, looking 6 months pregnant with bloating. That used to be me. It's not anymore. It's a beautiful life on the other side. It's so much easier and it's so much more enjoyable. Maybe it's pain-free periods, whatever that is. I want you to work on embodying the energy of that person. So if you have all of these things that you want, start to ask yourself these questions. In order to get this, who do I have to be and what do I have to do? So how does she sleep, right? How much does she sleep? This person that has seamless digestion and no food reactions and no constipation and no acne and a good thyroid function and all of that good stuff. How does she sleep? Does she prioritize her sleep? When does she go to bed? When does she wake up in the morning? Does she have a nighttime routine? Does she have a morning routine? How does she support herself on a weekly basis? Does she meal prep? Does she set out her supplements on a Sunday? Does she make time for movement? Does she make time to, use a sauna? Does she make time to connect with herself? Does she make time for quiet? Does she make time for meditation? Get very clear on who this person is and how they act. And P.S., this person is just you, right? So you're essentially stepping into what you want now. Because oftentimes we think we can't act that way until we have XYZ. But in order to get XYZ, we have to act that way now. So we get it flipped, right? We think, well, I'll feel happy and confident and I'll do these things when I have more energy or when I have better digestion. When really, in order to get more energy and better digestion, we have to do these things to get there. You embody it now when you do the things now in order to have that in the future. So it's like, who do you have to be and what do you have to do in order to get the result that you want? This is a step-by-step process to just essentially reverse engineer hitting your goals, whether that be a health goal or a relationship goal or a life accomplishment goal. I mean, it really doesn't matter, right? Because you're going to pick up education and information throughout the whole process, but how do you start it now? How do you embody being this version of yourself now? Does she go for walks daily? Does she scroll on her phone in bed for 2 hours at night? Right? Probably not. Does she save a million Instagram posts on health tips that she thinks she'll revisit one day and then she never does? And then she just lets them sit there and then she takes no real action. She just saves posts. Probably not, right? That's not going to get the result that you want. How does she speak to herself? Does she hold herself with love and compassion or does she beat herself up when she makes a mistake? Feel into all of these questions. And journal through this. How does she hold herself when things get hard? Because they will get hard. And I want you to also make sure that you understand that you're asking you these things. I can't answer these things for you. You're asking you, the authentic you, these questions. So these are not questions to ask some influencer that has a 27-step morning routine and she's getting sent all of these products for free and that's why she's using all of them and that's why she's filming all of them. If that's not you in your life, that's not going to apply to you. And there's also nothing wrong with that. I'm not even hating on that, but I see a lot of that and then people feel like, well, I don't have the time for that. And personally, I don't have a time for a 27-step morning routine. But that's also not my life and that's also not my job. I do other things for my job, right? So you're not asking that person who you think it's supposed to look like. You're asking you. What's coming up for you, the authentic you? What do you want at the core? What are you trying to create at the core? Why is it? Why are you trying to embody or have that and feel that? Can you embody the energy of that person now? This is how we essentially take this timeline of creating and the life that we want and hitting our dreams, accomplishing our dreams and hitting our goals, and we just compress it. And we go, oh, we're going to hijack this and we're going to go through this much, much, much quicker because what I want, I'm going to just start acting like I have that right now. If I felt good in my body, what would I do? Who do I think I need to be in order to feel good in my body, right? Is the woman that you are stepping into that feels like she has good digestion, she knows her body and she trusts her body and she loves her body. Does she criticize herself every morning? Or does she hold herself with compassion and accountability, right? So get very clear on these questions. And I want you to start to be her now. Be this version of yourself right now. This is, once again, when we start to attract these things in our lives. And before we know it, things start to flow. And we're like, wow, that was helpful. I felt really stuck and stagnant. And then I created this momentum. I shifted the energy with myself and I created this momentum. And now I'm feeling, so much better on the other side. And I'm like living and breathing this right now. For me, I went through this entire process. I did this exact thing. And then it's like, what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? Where am I not embodying who I want to be? And why do I want that too? Because I think that's, it's really helpful to dig deeper into why, because that's what really helps it stick, right? That's what really helps these changes stick. So I also find that my brain personally tries to talk me out of doing things and taking action just to keep myself safe, because that's what the nervous system's always trying to do. So even if it's like a dirty pan in my sink, I mean, I'm talking about all these little small things or launching this podcast. So it runs the gamut, right? Or going for a walk or meditating for 10 minutes. Doesn't really matter what it is. My brain starts to talk me out of it. I've got about 3 seconds before my brain starts to list off all of the reasons why I don't need to do that or shouldn't really do that right now. So even if I'm putting dishes in my dishwasher and then I see a dirty pan and I'm like, I'll clean that later, right? I'm kind of too tired to do that. I don't really need to clean this pan right now, right? The brain starts to make all of these excuses. Well, I've had a long day. No one's putting pressure on me to clean the pan. It's not a big deal. It's just a pan. The brain starts to run the gamut of just run the long list of excuses. I need a break, right? It's not that important. It doesn't really matter. I have like 3 seconds. I have the thought. I look at the pan and I think I should really clean that pan, because that would actually make me feel better. Having a sink with no dishes makes me personally feel fantastic. I hate having dishes in the sink, and I love feeling like my place is clean and there's not dishes everywhere. But the brain, I've got like 3 seconds before my brain is like, maybe later. And that same thing comes up when I go to do my journaling in the morning. When I go, well, I should really go on a walk right now. My brain's like, well, we could send this email first, or we could check Instagram first, or we could clean this pan first. That, even though we didn't want to do that, that feels better than going for a walk, or whatever it might be. The brain goes to talk us out of that, right? It's pretty quick. So understanding that, I think, is helpful, because now once you gain awareness, I can hear it. Like, I will start to have the thought, want to do the thing that I know would support me. And then I hear my brain going, maybe later. And now with an understanding of that, go, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm better off literally just doing it, because never in my life have I cleaned the pan and regretted having a sink free of dirty dishes. Never have I regretted going on a 10-minute walk in the morning, right? Never have I regretted putting on a meditation or journaling for 10 to 15 minutes. Like, these things are helpful and supportive. It's really just the brain going to talk you out of it. So once again, if that happens to you and you're asking yourself, like, you're listening to this and you're asking yourself, well, this all sounds great, but like, I'm not doing these things. Know that you're only human if your brain goes to do that, because the brain and the nervous system want to keep us safe. So the nervous system's like number one priority is to keep you safe. And this is why we run this list of excuses, and also why we repeat these patterns, even if they're not helping us, because to the brain, this feels more certain than the unknown, than something that we haven't done before or something that we haven't done yet, right? So we simply do the same thing over and over again. This is not all bad. Your brain is constantly scanning for danger and security. That is built in. That's on purpose. This can be especially heightened if you were someone that endured a lot of insecurity, that can also show up in many different ways. Maybe you weren't safe in your childhood home. Maybe there was like food insecurity, right? It can look like many different things. So if you have that lived experience too, like, a lot of my childhood didn't feel very safe. It wasn't consistent. I didn't feel safe. There was like a lot of yelling. There was a lot going on that we don't need to fully get into, but I had a lot of lack of safety in my childhood. So I am very much scanning for danger. And I had to really retrain my brain to understand that I'm going to know when I need to, when it's actually not safe, right? And where am I scanning for danger? Like to the point where I don't really need to be doing that right now. Like I can trust myself to know, oh, this is dangerous, I need to get out, versus, oh, this is just my brain like totally just hijacking. My brain's just hijacking me. So the nervous system really wants to keep you safe. Once again, not always bad. There is danger in the world. There are crazy things happening. This is on purpose. This is not all bad. You need to know when you need to run. I mean, think of that like gut instinct that you get, right? Maybe you walk by a dark alley and your gut's kind of like, just don't walk down there. Probably not good. Like we have that intuition, we have that feeling. You can trust yourself to act on that when you need. But it starts to show up in these other little areas of our lives, whether that's like taking on the new project or launching the podcast or even washing the pan. You know what I mean? So the brain keeps us doing the same thing over and over again, even if it's not working. For me, this showed up too in my health journey with like elimination diets. So I would just stay on them. I mean, I was just like living on them. I feel like I say this all the time, but I spent probably a decade on elimination diets, and that's not an exaggeration. I just kept doing it because I was too afraid to get off of them. The irony was that they were helping probably like 20%. Like I will say I felt a little better on them, but I still looked 6 months pregnant after eating. I was still dealing with bloating and gas and constipation and food sensitivities and loads of food fear. My relationship to food was all out of whack at that point, but I kept doing them because I was afraid to get off of them. And it was kind of like it was like something that I knew. My body knew them. Introducing new foods felt more scary to me. So I just kept repeating this pattern, even though it wasn't really helping me. So the nervous system is going to try to keep you safe and doing the same thing over and over again, because once again, the brain and the nervous system can hold a known negative easier than uncertainty. And this is why when you go to take the leap or go on the date or sign up for the program or give the presentation, I mean, whatever it is in your life, you're going to feel that like immense fear behind it. And this is where like cultivating self-trust is absolutely essential. So you can kind of walk yourself through those things. So just kind of keep that in mind during this process. If you are working to embody your future self and actively live into her now, your nervous system's probably going to be like, no, we don't want to make these changes. Let's not make these changes. And this is where like small, consistent steps, small little bite-sized, consistent actions are the real key, because they're what actually make change over time. And it's going to come with a little bit of resistance. So you can kind of expect that. Like right now, personally, I'm working on just going to bed earlier. It's truly as simple as that. But to me, it feels big because it's hard. I don't know why it's so hard for me, but it is. I have a tendency to just stay up later. So when I go to, it's this time, I got to go to bed now, my brain's like, we could just like look at our email again. We could just check our email for the 55th time today. It goes to talk me out of it. Well, I could do this. I could, spend time with my skincare. I could do this. I could scroll my phone more, whatever. I've put restrictions on my phone. So that's an action that I took out of my higher self. But things like that, right? It goes to just talk you out of it. So keep that in mind when you're going to make these changes. I think it's helpful to understand that like it's going to come with resistance. So now I can feel my nervous system starting to do that. And I'm like, oh, I see you. I'm not playing that game. I am stronger than this habit. I have the ability to change this habit. And that's really what it comes down to as well. Okay. And the fourth step of this process is to start to get rid of anything that isn't the version of your future self, that isn't supporting your health goals, that isn't supporting your relationship goals, that isn't supporting even your home goals, right? Like sometimes I like to take an audit and I'm like, I don't even use this thing. Or these clothes in the back of this closet. I mean, come on, who's got the clothes that have just been there for years and years and years that you literally never wear and you keep them anyway? Give them away, donate them, sell them, right? Like they're just taking up space and they're cluttering a closet that maybe you don't want. Maybe you don't want to wear those things anymore. They don't reflect your style anymore. They don't reflect who you are anymore. Like clear the space. This is all about clearing the space. Get rid of these things so you can step into that version of yourself. So start to get rid of anything that doesn't align with your future self. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. Where are you leaking energy? Where are you leaking energy on a day-to-day basis? For most of us, it's probably our phones. We're scrolling, we're taking in all of this information. And I mean, who even knows what we're seeing? We can see a recipe, and in the next reel, we can see someone's opinion on politics. And in the next reel, we can see another disaster that happened across the world. And then in the next reel, we see someone's take on food dyes and IBS. And I mean, it's all over the place. Or it could just be like a funny meme, or it could be someone making fun of something. I mean, we don't even know. We're being fed this stuff. And now the way the algorithm works, we're not even just being fed what we like signed up to be fed, like who we followed. We're being fed like suggested stuff. So, I mean, sometimes I go on there and before I know it, it's been 30 minutes and I'm like, I feel like I didn't even like consent to taking all of that into my brain. Like, who was I even watching? I don't even know these people, right? Like, who is this? So where are you leaking energy? Where are you allowing yourself to leak energy? Maybe it's in relationships. Maybe it's in friendships. Maybe it's with your health. What are you doing that's not serving you anymore? Maybe it's like eating too late at night, right? But where are you leaking that energy? Maybe it's worrying. I leak a lot of energy worrying and overthinking. I have a tendency to just overthink things and even though and like doubt myself, even though I know I got it. Like in the long run, I'm going to do it anyway. So that's the funny thing too. Like I know I'm going to take the scary action anyway. So like why am I even wasting time considering whether I should do it or not? I'm going to do it. I know myself, right? Like at the end of the day, I'm going to launch the podcast. No one's going to get in the way of me launching the podcast. So can I like create more ease for myself in that process as opposed to doubting myself, procrastinating, being late on deadlines, having my team ask me, where's the title? What's this, right? Like, can I just make that process better for me? Why do I have to put myself through all of that? So where are you leaking that energy? Overthinking, not listening to your gut, scrolling social media, watching the news, watching, movies that are like horror films or something. I don't know. You won't catch me watching those, but you know what I'm saying here. Where are you leaking this energy in your life? Where do you need to be more honest with yourself? This is always kind of a smack in the face one. This is how I identified my sleep schedule. I was like, wow, we got to make a change. We just got to make a change. I got to be more honest with myself. This isn't working. It's not working. That's it. I already know it, but like, come on, girl, make a change. So I'm doing it. That's what's happening. And it's already been so helpful, which is just like hilarious. Sometimes it's so simple and so silly, you guys. Truly. That's always the funniest thing. It's like, it's never taking this like massive leap. I mean, sometimes it is. Yes. I'm a big fan of taking big leaps, but often it's just like doing these little things you need to be doing already. It's like so funny. I'm sure God, universe, whatever you believe in is looking down kind of like they just laughing. It's like, hello, it's right in front of your face. It's right in front of your face. Okay. So where do you need to be more honest with yourself? Where are you playing small? Right? For me, going back to the podcast, like not launching it, worrying about it, comparing myself to other people, thinking no one's going to care, not launching it, putting it off. Where are you playing small in your life? It could be in your career. It could be in your relationships. It could be in your home space. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Where are you playing small? Where are you avoiding? This is a big one. This is what it comes down to for me too. Avoidance. Always the things that you need to be doing that you're just avoiding. Get really honest with yourself here. Where are you avoiding? And then where are you staying stuck in patterns that just aren't serving you anymore? Whether that's what you're eating, the supplements you're taking, how much you're scrolling, how much you're sleeping, how much you're moving, how much you're gossiping. Once again, doesn't really matter. Can go into any of these different areas of your life. But where are you staying stuck in these patterns that just aren't serving you? Maybe it's like you're getting in the same fight with your partner. Maybe it's you need to meal prep on Sundays and you're just like not doing it. And then by the time the week hits, you don't have any food to eat. And then you order in. Or order in, right? You get takeout. Because you're like, oops, I don't have anything prepped. So you're just staying stuck in that pattern, even though, you'd be better off eating healthy food that you cooked at home. But you're not setting yourself up for success there because you're just avoiding it and you're staying stuck in these little patterns because they're not quite painful enough yet. Let's make change before they get too painful. And you really don't get a result by just like thinking about it. So trying to get it all perfect and waiting for the perfect time to do something essentially never comes. And sometimes I get questions about working with us. And there's definitely, I mean, if you're like going to be traveling the whole time, maybe not the best time to join, right? And I do think, yes, there are better times than others to do certain things in your life. However, there's pretty much never a perfect time. I mean, there's never been a time in my life where I just have like an endless amount of free time and so much energy to like take on this project. Like I'd be better off waiting. This podcast would have never happened if I didn't just like be like, enough is enough and I got to just do it. You know, the first few episodes I recorded at night. It was probably like 9 or 10 p.m. And that was how I was getting them done. And you know what? Once I did that initial work, it's been easier to keep up with it than it is to record a bunch at the beginning, right? So there's like more work at the beginning to create that pattern and create that project and dream it up, and then less effort to continue moving it along. Just like going to the gym. Going to the gym for the first time is the hardest thing. Going to the gym when you've been going to the gym 3 times a week for 12 weeks is really not that hard. You're in the habit of it. It doesn't take that much energy. You've already created the momentum. There's less resistance. Your brain is less resistant to it. Your body's less resistant to it because you've been doing it, right? So it's like, it's going to take some extra oomph at the beginning to rewire some of these habits and to shift some of these things. And it will be easier to maintain those habits. I always give my clients the example of like brushing your teeth. I mean, when you were a little kid, your parents had to be like, brush your teeth. You're going to get cavities. You have to brush your teeth. Maybe you'd cry about it. You'd throw a fit. You didn't want to do it. And now, hopefully, as an adult, like you brush your teeth, whether you like it or not. And it's not that much work. I personally definitely have times in the evening where I'm like, I really don't want to brush my teeth. I hate this. Once again, just another interesting thing about me, but I always do it because listen up, I have to. I have to brush my teeth. It also feels so much better after I brush my teeth, but it's like, it takes literally 2 minutes and I need to just drop the resistance and do it because the consequences are not ones that I want to deal with, like having unhealthy teeth and paying for cavities, right? Those, to me, the consequence is worse than just doing it. So just expect that there will be a little bit of there's never that perfect time to make these changes. And you really don't get the result that you're looking for by just thinking about it. You don't get the result by reading the Instagram post with tips on how to support your liver. You get the result by doing the things that are going to support your liver, right? And we all know this, but sometimes we don't do this, and that's okay. No one is immune to that, me included. Because once again, it's easier to stay stuck in these patterns that aren't serving us because the nervous system wants to keep us safe. So these big changes in your life and in your health are not the result of one big decision. For example, even when clients sign up to work with us inside of Healing Guts and Shaken Butts, they can jump in and that feels like a massive decision for them. And I seriously applaud everyone that does that because it takes courage and it's scary, right? You don't know 100% what you're getting into, maybe, even if I've answered questions and spoken about it. But making that decision is a massive leap, and hitting sign up now is a massive leap. But the real work comes from the small, consistent actions that people are taking in the program. Even just signing up for the program doesn't actually get the result, right? It's kind of the initiation, and it can kind of like fuel you into this like higher self where you're like, okay, well, I signed up for it. Now I've got time on the line. I've got money on the line. I've got energy. Now I got to show up. It kind of just forces that a little bit. But the real result comes from the consistent actions that women are taking inside of the program. So these big changes in our lives, when we look back at them, they're the result of small little habits done consistently. So allow that to take the pressure off of yourself, to get it all right, to make every right decision, to quote unquote be perfect, because no one does and no one is. And it's not about never falling off the horse or never making a bad decision. We've all made bad decisions. I have made many wrong decisions and I've made a lot of great decisions. And it just is what it is, right? It's not about getting it all right. It's more so about how quickly you get back on the horse after you fall off. How much time passes between you having a bad day or missing your supplements or not exercising that day or getting out of your routine or whatever it might be. How much time do you allow to pass between that day and the next time you have that choice? So can you take, for me, I used to have this very much all or nothing mindset when it came to health and eating and all of that. So if I ate one thing that was quote unquote bad, which I don't deem food as good or bad anymore, which is very helpful. If I eat, say, one piece of cake, well, then I might as well eat 10 pieces of cake. And then I might as well just never eat a vegetable again, right? You start to kind of run that story. Whereas now, I mean, I just have cookies and it's like, whatever. I just keep on, I move on. I have healthy meals the rest of the day. I have healthy meals the next day and whatever that might be. If I miss a day at the gym, I go the next day. It's not a big deal. I get right back on the horse. So staying consistent is way easier because I'm also not expecting myself to be perfect. Of course, I'm going to have days when I don't go. Of course, I'm going to have days where work takes up my schedule and I don't make it to the gym. Or I'm going to have days where, oops, I didn't prep, so I'm ordering this food or whatever. These are just examples, you know, they feel like small examples, but I feel like they'll probably resonate with a lot of you guys. Or you show up to the meeting unprepared. I mean, whatever it is, like, it's not about being perfect. It's how much time will we allow to pass before we go, oh, I'm just going to go to the gym. Now I'm going to go to the gym. Is that one day? Is that 5 days? Does that turn into 2 months? That's the issue. It's not about getting it all perfect, right? That's what truly makes the biggest difference. And the only way that you can absolutely guarantee that you stay in the exact same place that you are in right now is to do nothing. Stay in the same habits, repeating the same patterns, making no change at all. That is what will guarantee that you wake up 6 months from now feeling the exact same way that you do now. That's the only way to guarantee it, which is probably not what you want. You can try to shift 3 things, 2 things, 1 thing. You should have a slightly different result, right? You could change 10 things. You could wake up 6 months from now completely different, living in the body that you dream of, living the life that you desire. That's totally possible. And I see that in our clients. I mean, a good 6 months of work can quite literally 180 your health, which is incredible. Or you can do nothing. And that's really the only way that you can just guarantee that simply nothing changes. So just to review this process with you guys one more time before we end here. So step 1, get really clear on what you want to feel. What is that? What is that desire? And make sure it's like true to your core. What is that true to your core desire? For me, I really desire freedom. Freedom's really important to me and safety is really important to me due to my childhood. So in my life, my core desires kind of like come back to that freedom, safety, growth. These are like my core, like deep to my core in my belly desires. So my life reflects those things. And that's because of these deeper beliefs that I have, right? But freedom, for example, taking care of my health is absolutely essential for freedom. Continuing to grow my business is essential for freedom, right? So making sure that you get very clear on what it is that you want and what you desire. If that's better health, get very clear on what that looks like and what that feels like. Then connect to your deeper why. That's going to be number 2. Connect to your why. Why do you want that health? What does that mean to you? What is that going to look like? Is that safety and security in a sense? Is that freedom for you? Is that presence with your kids, with your husband, with your wife, whatever that might be? Get clear on your why. Connect to the deeper why. Step number 3, start to embody this energy now. This version of yourself that has that desire, how does she move through the world now? What are her routines? How does she speak to herself? How does she show up for others? How does she show up for people that she loves? Embody her now and take these little steps day to day to step into being her now. Step number 4, start to get rid of anything that isn't that doesn't align with being who she is or he is or they are, whatever applies here. Step into just like delegating or deleting anything that doesn't align with this future self, this higher self, whatever you want to call it, this version of yourself that essentially is living the life that you desire now. And remember that there's gonna be bumps, that your nervous system is gonna try to keep you safe and it's gonna try to kind of hold you back, which is odd, right? Odd that our bodies do that. And just kind of expect that and be like, haha, I knew that was going to happen, but I know that I can step forward anyway. Like, you are much stronger than these little unsupportive habits that you may be clutching onto and holding onto now. And never, ever forget that. You are the only one that can actually change, like truly change your life. We can help. We'd love to help. But at the end of the day, like, you're doing the work. Don't let that overwhelm you. Let that empower you. That's actually incredible because you can decide to make a change like literally right now. how exhilarating is that? So I hope that this episode was helpful for anyone who's just feeling like a little bleh, a little stuck, a little stagnant. I personally hate that feeling, and I've felt it many times. And this is what I use to really get out of that feeling myself. So I hope this was helpful. I know it's a little bit of a different type of episode than we're used to here, and we'll have lots of fun gut health trainings coming in the upcoming weeks. And if any of you are feeling like ready to take the leap, ready to work with a practitioner to get to the bottom of your chronic digestive issues, to get to the bottom of your chronic health issues, and are interested in working with us, you can find the link to book a strategy call with us in the show notes below. That's a call with me. We chat about your case, your history, best next steps, get you feeling better, maybe like tests that would apply for you, things that we need to address and shift, deeper root causes, all of that stuff. We kind of get into it on these calls. So you can book a call with me via the link below. Currently, I'm booked out like a couple weeks. So if you're interested, just grab a spot before they fill out a bit more. But we'd love to help you and support you in that process. And without further ado, I'll see you in next week's episode. Okay, big hugs. Bye, everyone.